This drama is called Weavering Tale of Love. It's really great. It's about a tailor's daughter, a popular tailor woman who used to work back in the palace, back in the one era, um, who eventually retired, um, has a daughter who inherits her same skill. But a lot of tragedy happens. Her mother falls into a trap and loses her life, and the daughter has to get protected, right? So, in the reign of Emperor Tangzhou, 627 to 649, which called the prosperity of Zhang Yu, former clothing maker, and is framed and imprisoned. She had made her disciple, her only disciple, had deceived her into making a dragon gown or something for the supposed to be the queen or the king's woman, basically. And what happened was the king come in, he sees the dress that this woman who's the disciple went to go get Anne to do. No longer living in the palace, no longer living in that sort of life, has a family, live off to her own. She gets caught up in a trap by her evil disciple, who deceives her into making a gown that eventually costs her life and gets her killed. Because her teacher, which is Anne, wouldn't pass down her skill to her evil student. But after she was in prison, her little daughter, when she was in danger, she entrusted her young daughter. Lulu grew up in the palace. She entrusted her young daughter with the needle and the things that a tailor had back then. The things that made her mother the top tailor, what most people consider important, and you held so much value in that field, in that department. Having this specific needle meant so much back then, meant a lot back then. So she entrusts her daughter her books, her techniques, her needle, and things like that. She gave it to her little daughter. She tells her daughter to look in it, read it over, and burn the book. Now, her daughter not understanding what's really going on, she takes her daughter to a safe place where her daughter hides out from the palace people who is trying to take the daughter away. The daughter eventually escapes with the lady that she's entrusted with, the king's new Colombian is who she's entrusted with. But she's young. She's not yet mature. She's not yet there. But this young, genius girl is kind enough to take on the daughter who is who's going to tailor her dress and make her dress beautiful for her. The little girl is simply there to tailor her the new Colombian of the king's dress, while her mother went to tailor a dragon gown that wasn't really supposed to be made for her disciple, which got her killed and framed. But the daughter was being held at her friend's. She was making a gown, a dress. The daughter did exceedingly until the people came looking for her. Then she had to escape. And that was the first time she ever met Pei Jen. Um, Now her mother entrusted her daughter to a close friend in the palace. His name, he's an older guy. Now she has to pretend to be a boy. She has become a medical official who's responsible for epidemic preventions, right? She inherited her mother's super B talent for making clothes. She is super gifted. She makes, even when she was little, she had the skill uh, like no other. She is super talented like no other. After falling into a trap by those who is jealous of her, she finally meet the guy that helped her when she was a little kid. The one that took her needle, took her book, took all that and hid it away from her for her. Never gave it to somebody else. Always kept safe, kept her things, her mother's things, and she pretty much meets him again, which is cool because their story intertwines. After he pretty much is capable of saving her, she continues to do investigation on what really happened to her mother and how things really turned up. Her foster father and brother wants to protect her so much, but she wants revenge for her mother's death and she wants information. She's investigating. The one that's going to help her is the one that saved her when she was a kid, which is interesting because I know there's a great age difference between them. When he was fighting in wars and things, she was still a kid. So, and this is kind of interesting because, like, no one's really thinking about it because he's like a young lad and then she's like a young lady. But he's like really old. If you like really pay attention, you'll understand what I'm saying. So eventually they slowly fall in love and they slowly gradually find the information that is needed. They eventually uh, become a couple, work things out. Um, will they have a happy ending? That depends. But she's pretty strong to overcome anything. If she can overcome the palace life, she can overcome anything.